Hi, my name's Elizabeth Gronke, and I work at the American Folk Art Museum as an access educator with the Folk Art Reflections program. And this is another video visit. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a self-taught artist who's really interesting. What makes him interesting? For one, he worked all kinds of number of odd jobs during the Great Depression. He also is interesting because he says that as a middle aged man, he was desperate to find his purpose in life and a direction in his life. And so he says he prayed to God and God told him to make art. That's interesting. He was also interesting because he was sort of well known for his sense of humor, his passion, and even well known for having a very short temper. But before I tell you all about him, I want to show you the character that got me curious about him in the first place. Here he is. Take a look at this sculpture and tell someone that you're with what you see. It's definitely an animal. And if you said a tiger, you're right. The name of this sculpture is Seated Tiger, and the name of the artist is Felipe Benito Archuleta. So what do you think of this seated tiger? What if I were to tell you that this sculpture is almost 3 feet tall? I can tell you it has quite a strong presence in a museum gallery. Did you notice that the tiger is wearing a collar? And that there's a name tag on it, which says Pepi, P-E-P-I. So he has a name. And I just find him very charming and intriguing. And I can't help but want to develop his character a little bit more. So let's try it. Where do you think Pepe would live? And what do you think his personality is like? Lots of people I've shown this sculpture to have said that he looks like he's about to say something. This might be a good time to pause the video and tell someone that you're with what this tiger would say if he was a fictional character. No doubt about it, whether you think this tiger is scary or kind or curious, this tiger has a lot of personality. Seated Tiger is one of my favorite pieces in the museum's collection, and I think that's because I love the way that animals can be a way for us to think about character and personality and begin to do some storytelling. So since we've dipped in some fiction with the tiger, I think it's time to tell some more about the actual factual artist who made that sculpture and many, many more animal sculptures. Here are 3 photographs of Felipe Benito Archuleta. He was born in 1910 in New Mexico to a single mother. He was a young man during the Great Depression and worked a wide variety of jobs, including as a field worker. He was a short order cook, and he did some woodworking. He had married and raised 5 kids in a small adobe house that he built, but he had always struggled financially. And the story that he tells is that in 1964, when he was feeling desperate to make something of his life, he prayed to God, and God told him to carve wood. Now, he didn't feel like he was worthy to make the traditional religious carvings that are commonly found in the Southwest, but instead, he started with sculptures like this one. As you can see, this is a small wooden cart with oxen, very carefully carved and skillfully made. And this was one of his first sculptures. Once his small sculptures got noticed by some local gallery owners, they encouraged him to make larger sculptures. And that's when his career as an artist really took off. He would gather wood from surrounding areas. He would use lumber. He would use whatever he could find in his yard, and he made all kinds of fantastic creatures. Here's a sketch that he made where he was working out different ideas for animal sculptures. You can see that he's studying the different animal forms. So, what animals do you see? He's labeled some of them. I see a donkey near the bottom of the page, and a rabbit, or maybe I should say a hare with those long ears. Remember, he did live in the Southwest, so the rabbits would look more like jackrabbits. I see a few pigs, and a howling coyote, and a dog. I wonder why the dog has an X through it. But you can see that he signed and dated the drawing at the top. For me, it's always fun to see the drawings that a sculptor makes and to get a sense of their process and how a drawing like the one that we just saw can turn into a sculpture like this. Can you tell what animal this is? If you guessed coyote, you're right. Isn't it magnificent? Now, Felipe Archuleta's work became very popular once he started to make larger animals, and he had a long list of orders to fulfill. So he did something that was a little controversial in the art world. He hired craftsmen to work with him. One of those workers he actually met because he picked up the guy who was hitchhiking. And some of the people who worked with him went on to have careers in the art world on their own. His son became an artist, and his grandson still carries on the tradition, which makes Felipe Archuleta sort of the father of a whole style of Southwestern folk art. But let's keep looking at this sculpture. Take a look at the way it's standing and the way it's baring its teeth. How would you describe this coyote? If you want, you could pause the video and tell someone that you're with what you think about this coyote. I would say that this coyote is pretty fierce and wild. And I think if it could talk, it would be warning somebody to back off. It actually reminds me of some of the things that I read about the artist, that he wasn't always easy to work with, he could anger very easily, and that he didn't always appreciate it when art collectors came dropping in on him in his backyard studio. But I also read that he could be very kind and generous to those in need, and that he was very funny. So if this coyote is an expression of his personality, then it's only one side. And maybe Pepe, the inquisitive tame tiger, is another side of the artist. I have to ask you, if you could have a sculpture by Felipe Benito Archuleta, what animal would you want in your home? Now remember, he did a wide variety of animals, so you could think of almost anything. And how would you want it posed? Would you want it fierce like the coyote, or would you want it sitting inquisitively like the tiger? I recommend this for your activity if you so choose. Go online, type in the name Felipe Benito Archuleta, choose images, and you'll see the wide variety of animals that he's created. You'll see armadillos, you'll see fish, you'll see snakes, you'll see bears, you'll see a giraffe, you'll see all kinds of creatures. And my recommendation is to choose one that appeals to you and give it a name and figure out where it would live if it was a fictional character, and give it a personality, and let Felipe Archuleta's inspiration become your inspiration. That's my suggestion for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm really glad to have let you know about this amazing self-taught artist. And I'll see you at the next Folk Art Reflections video visit.